The human family is the only remaining tribe. Or characteristics at all. Under electric media, just have a world just as
all Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers.
You ask, how do you build that wall? You ask, and I'm here to tell you.
That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders.
Right down. Got a name?
Trump.
I bet it fits. Everybody in town know him? But they're all willing to believe what he said.
We're not going to stop up their ears. He's supposed to give us the whole story tonight.
I don't intend to sit here and be insulted, Sheriff. If your people don't want my help, I can go elsewhere.
Wait a minute, Mr. Trump. You don't...
More by hiring a record number of new border guards.
a world tribe.
He could be really genuinely funny in conversation. I remember once we were on the subject of Pierre Trudeau.
In the military world, the citizen-military gap is closed.
And his
probably to be so with politics.
His many victories in elections. He said, you know, the reason Trudeau is so successful is that he has the name of a Frenchman, the mind of an Englishman, and the face of an Indian.
With the advent of electric information pickup, the entire world has been dumped in the Western lap.
I feel so guilty here in Canada about what we did to the Indians. After one of, forgive me, we were talking about some astounding statement that some New York literary intellectual, this was the 60s, had made. I think it was Susan Sontag on the occasion in which she said that that white people are the cancer of the human race. I think that was, and Marshall's comment to that was, well, he said, you know, moral indignation is a standard strategy for endowing the idiot with dignity.
The Americans have lost their sense of identity. The country is falling apart physically and politically because of the speed of information. The American bureaucracy, political and educational, was set up for very slow speeds of the printed word and railways.
One of the peculiarities, eventually by Pat, the gap
I ask you,
between the
what is our most cherished right since pioneer days?
pulse kid and the
stand back and just analyze instead of experience.
politician is
Never really have the experience.
over.
But at the same time, I don't think anybody is
And the gap
saved enormously just by
between the ballot box
giving themselves over to an experience completely and not it.
last night on box office is likewise. Remember, Pat Paulson was asked if he were going to run for president. The ballot box said no. Didn't you once on an ABC program say you were going to run for president? No. It is now used creative. So they said, well, wait and watch this. So they played an ABC program in which he definitely announced he was going to run for president. And they said, well, what do you got to say to that? He said, I've been misquoted. Showbiz used to be used to create representative of the public. That's a media joke, and I hope you're collecting an awful lot of them. Now you no longer try to make something that all electric media are instantaneous, and the individual and the group cease. Tall. Under electric media, just have a world
But laissez-faire won't work.
presents anything.
Then you had better stay out of politics.
Try to create a new, original, and striking image.
Or you are just automatically eased out.
Oh, wow, audiences. A politician has to be show business. He's no longer a representative of anything.
And never mentioned in the press.
My phone is probably about now that I care.
Apropos the one bit of
We are now standing at the most famous, or should I say infamous, gate in the world. Traitor's Gate. The gate was originally known as the Watergate.
But how amazing that a apartment building in Washington should be called that, and that it should in turn have been applied to Nixon.
The secret agents who are destroying each other in public.
Couldn't care less if my phone was back.
Because they got fouled up over policies. You see, one's international, one's domestic. And the huge clash in these policies that cut down the budget almost to nothing just enraged these guys. The whole blooming world has become about the size of a little village, 1,000 people or so, where everybody knows everything about everybody.
Let's write that letter to grandchild here, dear.
We are still writing the letter.
Oh.
Dear grandchild, Helix culpa. As you know, the voting age used to be 18. It will be 3 in your time. 3 years of age is sufficient now to mature a person and to give him a proper quality of senile grooviness. The word groovy used to mean new, as you know now. It means settled in well-established patterns.
The kids, the awful struggle is the real pressure cooker situation is the kids who are the natural citizens of this electronic world.
Sensory commons
are also caught in what Tony calls the pencil box world. So you've got the slowest environment and the fastest people together. Now, so that's why the schools are going to get blown out.
That is called a gap, a generation gap. People need to meditate on the nature of gaps very much, because between a wheel and an axle you have a gap, and without that gap there could be no wheel. When the grease disappears and the gap seizes up, you've got problems. Now, what's wrong with our generation gap is not that there's a gap, but that it is seizing up. It is getting into a hotbox situation.
Your pops ain't came through for
I'm
this.
just saying,
You're doing real bad
I'm
right
just
now.
saying.
We know that.
In which the blooming wheels won't turn. Our ballot boxes are turning into hot boxes. Our ballot boxes are turning into hot boxes. They're hotting up. My phone is probably bugged, now that I care. Couldn't care less if my phone was bugged.
Well, there's less phone bugging in this country than there is in France.
Yeah. Well, anyway, see, we're not trying to settle these points. These are incidental illustrations. The main point is somewhere else, eh?
Yeah, but it's important to get... Look, I have 3 days left with you.
I know, but
That's
anyway,
all.
The main point is structural. These bits that we're talking about are not.
Yeah, but you're
I'm trying to illustrate the difference between alphabetic man and non-alphabetic man. The non-structural man. Greek science is non-structural. We're hotting up the political situation, trying to get representatives out of that old box.
What makes a person
And it's hotting up and seizing up and will not yield representatives, but only freakouts. Only freakouts. They're hotting up the political situation, trying to get representatives out of that old box. And it's hotting up and seizing up and will not yield representatives, but only
this is
freakouts.
now in the information world. Espionage is the biggest business in the world. No stockbroker can run his business without espionage. No banker can run his business without espionage.
Nombre. Huh? Nombre.
Every developer has to have espionage.
Nombre? No.
Every fashion monger has to have espionage about what's coming.
No. That's one of Joyce's
The whole damn world is run by espionage today.
Popular points in his
I'm studying the patterns and the effects of these speed-ups.
great work. Who gave you that no?
Since most of the effects are subliminal,
A name is a no.
very few people know about them.
When you've been labeled, you have been
You can have access to any information in the world, anywhere in the world.
numbed. Numbered. Nombre.
I was a network administrator for the NSA. Prior to that, I was an analyst, and before that, I ran tech support for Microsoft Word. Early to that, I worked in various capacities at a KFC in Topeka, and before that, I babysat for my little sister for several summers. They know everything. I saw a database where they were collecting everyone's pants sizes. They know exactly how many almonds that each one of us has eaten. They keep track of when you use your friend's password to HBO Go without their consent, and watch the last couple episodes of Game of Thrones to find out what happened with that guy's penis, because that was a jarring moment.
This is the paradox. There is no longer any such thing as secrecy. That's what the joke about the Watergate affair.
But Watergate was the game of traitors. Never mentioned in the press. Never mentioned in the press. That was mentioned in the press.
The new criticism has brought about a total revolution in reading habits. We now read in depth. I.A. Richards used to say at Cambridge, a small poem, a small 8 or 10 line poem, was quite enough for him for a week's intense study and reading. He couldn't read 2 poems in 1 week. And this sort of depth reading and depth analysis and depth consideration of all situations, cultural as well as individual, psychic as well as economic, this multi-leveled awareness, multi-sensuous awareness of all situations is, I think, directly involved in the TV image with its tactile values.
Where the hidden world meets the visible world. All right, in our own day-to-day, the acoustic world is always meeting the visual world. That is, the hidden world of sound is always bumping into the world of sight, of the visual world. And where the two meet is icon. And so it's a kind of magic. Oh yes, magical. Oh, well, the medieval man lived in an acoustic or magical world.
This example you give from Cambridge precedes TV. Oh yes, because just as Cézanne and Seurat and Rouault all discovered the relevance.
You see, the electricity puts your nervous system outside as an environment. By the way, look at cover of June 8 TV Guide, Dali picture of what TV really is. 2 thumbnails. Now, the interval between the two is the all-important thing. Touch is interval. No connection in touch.
The new relevance of tactile values, as opposed to conspicuous pictorial values, they discovered these things 60 years ago, 70 years ago.
And now this is becoming generally available to all the public. The whole public gets conditioned to that sort of thing.
The popular technology now reinforces this older aesthetic revolution, yes.
What's great about this country, that America started a tradition where the richest consumers buy essentially the same things as the poorest. You can be watching TV and see Coca-Cola. And you know the president drinks Coke, Liz Taylor drinks Coke, and just think, you can drink Coke too. A Coke is a Coke, and no amount of money can get you a better Coke than the one the bum on the corner is drinking. All the Cokes are the same, and all the Cokes are good. Liz Taylor knows it, the president knows it, the bum knows it, and you know it.
Carry on.
Oh, I think I need a breath.
You need a breath and a cup of tea, perhaps?
One thing I know, and I think other people know, is that when a politician goes on TV, he has to have charisma, or he's dead. And some people, charisma means looking like a lot of other people, like Cronkite. If you reassure people by resembling a lot of other people they know and approve of, you have charisma. But if you don't have a resemblance to a lot of other people who are socially acceptable.
Let's say the Tower of Babel.
On the other hand, Finnegan represents that in another level, the Finn or tribal cycle, to which we now return again.
He's the tribal man, the corporate expression of the tribal man.
First, I might point out that the title, the medium is the massage, is a pun.
But anyway, let's just keep remembering it's figured
on
grounds.
Several levels.
So if you want to know what's happening
including
in the 20th century man, why he is so deeply involved in other people, it's information.
Obi, they're changing your image. Okay. And the studio says you're escorting Carlotta Valdez to your premiere tonight.
How come? I don't know her.
Studio's arranging it. They're changing your image.
And will not yield representatives, but only freakouts. A cigarette is a weak form of pot or LSD.
Otherwise, you're merely poisoning their psyches. A simplified and flexible alphabet and the spread of writing and reading emphasized logic and consequently general agreement. The spread of writing widened the base by which the screening of ability could take place. The feudal hierarchy of Greece was weakened by an emphasis on writing.
But are you interested in the actual
polish?
Yeah.
No. Most certainly
that's what
not.
I think a lot of people.
Oh no! They're complaining about my disjointedness.
I wish I'd learned speed reading before I came here.
You can't read him speed.
You can't.
No, it's, each one is a separate thought.
Well,
it's like Pascal. Oh yes, or La Rochefoucauld. You can't speed read La Rochefoucauld.
Okay, what can you speed read then?
You can Voltaire. Yeah, the New York Times.
No, not all of them. Some of them actually accept the disjointedness, but
They think I'm sloppy.
I don't know whether they'd use that
But they
term.
never illustrate. I wish when people make charges, they ought to quote, and they ought to say, now this passage could easily have been improved as follows.
Yeah, that's true.
They never ever indicate what they consider to be an improvement in McLuhan style. And I think they would find that if they tackled the problem that I'm working with, they would quickly begin to write the way I write. Harold Innis has the same problem, which became a type of intelligence test. The writing age was essentially an egoistic age.
A wonderful world. It created civilization. It was a wonderful world.
It created civilization in our sense. It didn't create...
It created a tremendous world such as never was seen before in any culture. And it's finished. Why? Because it has been circuited, surpassed, included in a new culture of software, information, or electric simultaneity, which the computer people call software. And this is a world where...
Everyone enclosing themselves with their little pen.
Absorption of energies and mastering the technique of writing left little possibility for considering the implications of the technique. They were unaware of the effects, he says. But this is typical. He makes statement after statement after statement. He doesn't develop them.
Yeah.
And I do that too, except that I am careful to make my statements annoying. The Assiniboine at one end and the Red River at the other end, and I had a boat on each end of the street. I had a boat on the Assiniboine and a sailboat on the Red River, and there were...
Very wide awake, filling in the other page out of my own noodle.
He probably stimulated more people than almost anyone else around. I can think of maybe he stimulated more people than anyone else around. But he tended to stimulate them like whirling dervishes.
Because I know that people are going to go sound asleep unless you annoy them very, very much. And it belongs up on the top shelf.
On the top shelf.
There's also his Empire and Communications here, which is a study of the growth of empire through media. I can read the New York Times in 20 minutes, a big fat paper, because it's so nicely, smoothly written. But the Globe and Mail takes me an hour.
Have you heard of Marshall McLuhan?
No, I haven't.
Who is Marshall McLuhan? Was the question. Well, that's supposed to be a sick joke. Are there any sick jokes about McLuhan? Who is Marshall McLuhan? What is the grievance behind the sick joke? Well,
I had never any problem about knowing who I was.
This kind of bizarre, would-be cynical and paradoxical sort of remark has, I think, some of the characteristics of a McLuhanism.
Even 200 years after Copernicus.
Why?
It's all broken up into little pieces.
Barbara Rose profile, you don't know if it's strategy or stupidity because it's the exact opposite of what he said.